Hello, good morning, and happy 4th of July week.
Freedom! Boom, 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 boom!
All right. So, hopefully you had a great 4th of July. We did. We had some friends come from out of town.
We will. Today is the 4th of July. We are recording special 4th of July edition of Family Meeting Podcast. There is sweet freedom in the air.
Yes, but this will be going out tomorrow.
Yes.
Yes, it won't. This episode will not drop tomorrow. So it's actually 4th of July was yesterday.
Yeah, for you. But for us, it's today.
But we won't tell you what happens.
Yeah. Time travel. All that.
This got weird. It always gets weird. I don't know why we can't just have like a normal welcome to the YouTube people and like...
In my defense, you started it by saying 4th of July.
That's a terrible defense.
No, it's not, because you have to talk about freedom.
Okay. Yeah, not in the way you did. Okay, I think we should go ahead and jump into this episode.
I love America.
America.
Do you?
I love America.
Then why are you not excited about sweet freedom?
I am excited, but this is me excited, not insane.
No, it's not. This is
You're
not you
insane.
excited. This is you like, man, I can't believe I got to do this with this dude again.
Okay, that is true. Wow. Can you hear my thoughts?
So you don't want to be recording the podcast today?
Well, I would love to have somebody else besides this guy.
So we're actually taking auditions. If you want to replace me as...
That'd be so funny. Okay, I got a couple of guys I would be happy to record a podcast with.
This is just got weird real fast.
Not weird. I'm just saying like record a podcast with, not like replace you as my husband. I'll keep you as that.
So the way that you apply is record yourself doing the intro.
Okay.
Just recording the intro. Don't say your name's Thomas unless it is Thomas, because that'd be weird. And then don't call her wife. Just say my co-host, Lysandra.
Yeah. Okay. And we'll see if we can find someone better than this guy.
Yeah.
I can't imagine it's going to be that hard.
Really, it can't be. But you're not going to get the excitement from anybody else like I bring to the table.
That is true. You bring a lot of excitement to the table.
Yeah.
So how about we go ahead and record the episode?
All right. I think I'm ready.
We're in episode 145.
I'm in the freedom mind zone.
Freedom mind zone?
Yeah.
Okay. Go
ahead. It's a whole zone.
Get it.
All right. Let's see if you can top this. Gather round, everybody. It's time for a family meeting. The family meeting is a show that's all about sweet freedom. We're the Ostracamps. I'm Thomas. This is my wife and super freedom-loving spouse, Lysandra. Yeah.
Hello and welcome to our family.
Freedom! Boom, 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 boom!
You make my life so difficult.
See, no one's bringing this kind of excitement.
I'm sure that's true. Okay. Hello and welcome to our family. Welcome to episode 145 of the Family Meeting Podcast. On today's episode, we're talking about the challenges of raising a child who has autism. So this is going to be an interesting episode for many of us, because I know for us, we don't have autism in our direct family, in the 6 of us, or even in our extended family. So we have friends and some people in our Iowa church, and so we've had some interactions with autistic children, but we really can't speak to this topic ourselves. So we've interviewed some other people, some parents who are raising children with autism, and we've also talked to a sibling of a child with autism. We wanted to hear their perspective. We wanted to hear their advice and what they have for, encouragement for other parents who are facing this particular challenge. But we also want to think about how we, as people who do not have autism in the family, how we can help support a family who is facing that challenge.
Now, before we jump into this episode, we have some exciting news to share with you.
Ooh, I can't wait to hear.
If you are part of our Facebook group, it's a private group, then you have already gotten the inside information. So if you're not part of the group, it's time to get in so you're first to know.
what is the name of the group? How would they find it if they searched it on Facebook? This is the question that I have to ask for myself, and I'm gonna just assume that maybe there's somebody out there who needs to know that answer too.
So the group is Family Meeting Online,
Okay.
or you can go to our Facebook page. That's Family Meeting, and there's a little button that says click. That says you can click. It says Join Group.
Okay, that helps. I didn't know about the little button.
Yeah. So a little button says Join Group. So the exciting information that we shared is about the marriage book that Lysandra and I are throwing out in the world.
Yes.
We're just going to throw it.
We're going to throw
and
it right out.
See where it lands.
We're going to toss it into your marriage.
So why don't I let you... No, I'll say the title, and then you can tell them what it's about.
Oh, I can't wait. We finally get to talk about it.
Is that cool? Should we do it like that?
Let's do it like that.
All right, so here's the title. All right, I'm going to give it a little pizzazz.
Oh, great.
Some excitement. Happily never after.
Very nice. Well done.
Yeah, see, you feel like it's going to be happy,
Mm-hmm.
and then like all of a sudden it's like never
Uh-huh.
after.
Which describes marriage. You think it's going to be happy, and then it's not.
Yeah, totally not.
And honestly, that's kind of what the book is about. It's about the fact that we can, we have this idea of what like it's going to be like when we get married, and it's going to be so great, and everything's going to be happy, and my needs are going to be met, and I'm going to be a happy person because I get married. And then to any of you who have been married longer than 2 weeks, you realize like, oh, okay, yeah, this is not as good as I thought it would be.
The honeymoon's over. You come out of the hotel room, and it's like, now what?
Yeah, and sometimes it can be really bad. And what we have done with this book is we have pulled back the curtain on our marriage, and we have shown you the hideousness that is Lysandra and Thomas.
Well, Thomas for sure. Lysandra comes out looking like a sweet angel.
No, I don't. I tell my worst stories, you tell your worst stories.
It's just that my worst stories are worse than your worst stories?
Not necessarily. I have some bad.
Your voice got high there. Everybody knows you're lying.
I do have some bad stories, like for real.
So it's 5 things that
5 ways to destroy your fairy tale and 5 ways to create your fairy tale.
Okay, awesome.
Yeah. So you're going to hear what not to do, exemplified by us.
Yes.
And then you will hear what to do, which is some stuff that we have learned and that we implement now in our marriage.
So a book's going to be coming out hopefully in July. It's at the editors right now. Kelly Murray has a great business, has been a big help to us.
5-star, highly recommend.
So helped us with proofreading, content editing, she's formatting and all that kind of stuff to help us get it down the road to the finish line. Shout out also to the real deal Evan Steele, who helped us with some content editing. So we appreciate that. But
Evan's the best.
It is coming so closely now. All right, we've got something going.
We have a technical difficulty.
We got music going
Excuse
on.
me.
My wife left her phone on, broke the cardinal rule of when we podcast. But we appreciate the help on the book and getting it to the finish line. It's so close. We are finishing the book. We're going to take that and actually turn that into a course, video course that you can either take by yourself. You can go through it as a couple. It could be small group curriculum for your small group. And we're really excited about that. And that leads me to another update that we've got, and that is freshly built, newly remastered website.
Yes.
That is going to be updated and expanded with some other options coming up very soon.
I'm excited about all this.
So we've got a lot of fresh things coming, and some more things we'll be announcing later on as we can. So we want to share that news about the book. It'll be available for pre-order soon. If you want to be the first to jump on that, get it pre-ordered, then make sure you hop into that Facebook group.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
So we're diving into the discussion for today. Mm-hmm. And like Lysandra said, you may have autism in your direct family, or you may not. But I dare say that probably all of us know somebody.
Yes.
Whether it is a family member, it is a friend, or something like that. And so here's some information that will be helpful to you and specifically was helpful for us on how we could support and encourage the families around us who are dealing with this in their house and in their family. So we're going to kind of throw some of the questions that out there that we sent to these families and hear what they have to say on this topic. So one of the first things that we talked about and asked them about was, what emotions did you face when your child was first diagnosed with autism? And getting right to the very beginning. And we've talked to other families that deal with other issues, similar question as well. Because when we find out we're having a baby, right, there's all these sort of mixed emotions depending upon where you're at in life.
Yeah.
And then you get excited and you start to dream and you start to think about this little life and what you want for this child and all the stuff, right? And there's some of these things that when we're looking forward to having this baby that we don't think of, we don't plan for, and then the news comes. So, and we're not gonna give out any names of the people that we talked to. In fact, I don't even know who gave what answer. So, but this person responded with this. So, talking about the emotions with the diagnosis. Our first response was denial. Diagnosing autism is an inexact science. When we received this diagnosis, we were also exploring other possible medical explanations for his condition, and were receiving other diagnoses from other doctors who believed his condition could be due to enzyme problems, seizures, or whatever was their specialty. And one doctor believed his condition would be terminal by the age of 7. Can you imagine that?
No.
Having a doctor tell you that, and of course this doctor was not correct.
And just the emotions that you go through with every doctor's appointment and waiting for the next appointment, waiting for the test results every time. I mean, we are talking about an emotional roller coaster that most of us parents have never experienced.
Yeah, totally. So I can't even imagine the emotions when they're hearing news like this. And say, once we eliminated the other possibilities, we accepted the diagnosis of autism. Our initial feelings were despair when some specialists forecast that our son would never speak, function in society, or be potty trained.
Wow.
We wondered if we did something during the pregnancy or in his infant years, which may have caused his condition. Yeah, can you imagine?
Yeah, and I think that is quickly what happens when you get bad news about your family is, especially your children. You immediately say, what do we do?
Yeah.
What did we do wrong as parents? There must be an explanation, and it's got to be me. I did something wrong. But that's not necessarily the case.
No,
in
not
fact,
at all.
most of the time, that's not the case.
And I think especially moms have a hard time with this because obviously from the moment of conception onward, like dads are there for a second, sometimes literally, and then the moms take it from there for 9 months plus, and then as the baby is born, moms are so integral and in there all the time.
Yeah, and I feel like mom guilt is a part of the package.
Yeah.
It just comes with the baby.
Yeah.
And it's so hard.
I think dad guilt sometimes comes along later on as children are maybe older and making their own decisions and stuff like that. Like, man, what did I do as a dad that I did not?
Okay.
But I think for moms, a lot of times it's literally like every moment of the day.
Yeah, it sometimes it can be. You feel guilty that you're not working enough. You feel when you are working, you feel guilty that you're not home enough, and so on and so forth. And it's that way about everything.
And so continuing on, this parent says, we then grieved when we considered the life he would have and wondered if he will realize how different he will be from others. Yeah, and so just that thought of, like, what is my child going to understand and figure out that they're different from others, and how other kids are going to treat him, and just all those things that we deal with. I mean,
and you grieve the loss of the life he could have had, or the life that you dreamt he would have, like you said.
Yeah, exactly. Dreamt he would have.
Another parent describes her feeling this way. Our experience with our daughter was a bit different. We knew after her 1 year vaccinations that there was a drastic change in her entire body. She got sick, and then we noticed she never got back on the same track of milestones like before. In fact, she regressed. So I can't imagine that, you know, a little over a year old, and all of a sudden you're watching your baby regress in progress. So she became early intervention therapies by 18 months old. So when she got her ASD diagnosis at the age of 5 in kindergarten, we had already preloaded ourselves with this possibility and accepted it years before. So that is a different situation.
That is interesting that they were able to kind of see it ahead of time and then step in and try to do what they could do to help.
Yes. And this next thing that she explains is kind of surprising. And then when you listen, you realize, yeah, that totally makes sense. She says, we were in fact relieved to get the diagnosis right then. And because it's like you're just waiting for that shoe to drop. You're just waiting. You just need to know it so that you can then move forward. Because then the academic, social, and physical needs and therapies could and would be met right away for her at home and at school. And then they began an amazing team, and they started their journey.
Yeah, and what you have really totally opposite feelings as far as the first parent having that initial denial, and this parent like, oh man, I'm so relieved that there's, because you have an answer for it, right?
Yeah.
And then we've seen parents who are still in denial, and their kids are like pretty much grown now, and they just don't want their child to be labeled with this or that, and so quite a range of emotions in the way that people deal with that certain diagnosis.
The road from denial to acceptance looks different for everybody.
Most definitely. Yeah. And here's a question that maybe some of you need, because your child has been diagnosed with something, whether it's autism or something else. And this would be a question I would want answered for myself, and that is, how do you help siblings understand and support your special needs child? So you have other children involved in the family. It's not just the one child. How do you merge that? I think one of the difficult things is, obviously in certain scenarios, depending upon what your child's dealing with, that child's going to get a lot more attention, a lot more focus, because they have to. And so trying to find that right balance. But this person says, first, I want their siblings to see us treating our autistic son with as much love and care as we do all of our children. Initially, they would not see too much of a difference in their autistic brother. As they grew, we explained to them how autism affects their brother and taught them that there is more to him than just autism. We included him in all family events that he could tolerate. And I like that. The fact that, hey, they treated him just like they did all the other children, as best as they could in what was right for him, and trying to help people to see and understand. And it's that way with other disabilities and things that people deal with as well. We shared in an early episode about our friends who their daughter has
cerebral palsy.
Cerebral palsy, that's right. And I just assumed like certain things about her because of that.
When you first met.
Yes. And because she's nonverbal. And so I just assumed literally there's nothing going on there. And they had to explain to me that, no, she's mentally exactly where she should be for her age. And so you talk to her like you would any other kid her age, and those sorts of things. And so getting people to look past some of that and helping to teach and bring some people along.
And I love this quote, how this parent says, there's more to him than just autism.
Exactly.
Because for us, we may, if we don't fully understand it and everything, we may look at somebody with a special need and we just see the special need. But there's a person there. There's a heart there. There's feelings. There's thoughts that are happening, and they're dealing with so much, and yet sometimes we just see the special need, and that's all we see. So I think that's a really good point to remind us all. Another parent says, our firstborn child has autism. So when our second child was born, she grew up in a house that already had implemented new replacement behaviors for our oldest. So she just fell right into the groove.
Nice.
Our daughter just naturally learned softness, kindness, gentleness, quietness, and empathy through her sister's action and how we all responded to any and all situations inside and outside of the home. She, I believe, has grown into an extremely kind and nurturing 11-year-old due to her sister's teachings. And once she got older, our family conversations were molded around around living life through understanding and patience. She understands her sister's needs and wants are very different from neurotypical kids at her age, but open and honest conversations are best. She knows it's okay to ask. I love that. It's okay to be curious. It's okay not to understand. And she loves asking her sister questions. Open conversations are needed. Don't be afraid to say the word autism. Don't be afraid to talk about it. Wow, what great advice for how to handle autism in the family with siblings.
Yeah, and what this family shares is important for all families in all situations. And it's something that we just talk about over and over again on the podcast. And that is communication is king. And just having open and honest conversations about it is the best way to handle it. It's the best way to teach. And I love what this 11-year-old girl is learning through the experience. And the parents are able to see the positive aspects of what is happening and what their family's going through. What a great mindset.
Yeah.
And I wish that more of us had that type of mindset for whatever it is we face in life.
Yeah.
To be able to look out and see the positives, because so often in life we focus in on the perceived negatives. And I say perceived negatives because autism is not a negative. But some people could look at it that way and just tend to focus in on that thing versus, no, this is a great thing, and here's the positives of it, and look what our family has learned. And so what a great attitude, a great mindset that they have and what they're teaching their family. What about this question here? What are some of the behaviors your autistic child exhibits? And I think this will be helpful for some of us who are more on the outside looking in, to be able to kind of know what to expect and to have a greater understanding.
And autism is, you hear the word spectrum of autism. And I always looked at that, because I was very ignorant. I looked at it like, oh, a spectrum means more severe or less severe. But it was explained to me recently by somebody in the autism field that that the spectrum basically means there are many different aspects that a child with autism can have. And the spectrum refers to like how many different quirks that they have. What is that combination? And it could be a spectrum of different combinations. Some are nonverbal, some are not. Some children, never become potty trained and some do. So things like that make the spectrum. So there are a lot of different behaviors that an autistic person may exhibit.
So in looking at this parent says, our daughter is 14 now. So a majority of her behaviors have to do with social, emotional regulation. She stims constantly. It just looks different through the years. She has always been a rocker, like physical rocking her body for motion to calm herself when overstimulated. And you do see this, the different ways that they try to calm themselves. One of the ladies of our church, she had her granddaughter with her this past Sunday, who has autism. And so one of the things that she does in a crowd with all this she's overstimulated. She talks out loud to herself.
Right.
And so this little girl was doing that Sunday as we were setting up and getting everything ready.
Yep.
So kind of how they learn to deal with the situation around them is a little bit different depending on the child. Now at 14, this parent goes on to say, she stands and walks around and rocks her body while shaking her hands. She is 100% aware and conscious of this, and still has a solution basket, is what they call it, which contains soothing materials that support this feeling. At 14, she knows when she needs to go find a soothing tool. For example, weighted blankets, headphones, fidget toys, ASD special brush for her scalp that calms her. She has also been a self-harmer. And that's so sad to think about. And once again, the insight into these families and what they deal with, and gives a little more understanding. When she was younger, it was banging her head, pinching herself, pulling her hair, punching her legs when frustrated. But she was also nonverbal, so it was a tougher situation.
Wow.
Now that she's 14, her anxiety has elevated and the behaviors have taken new forms. She still pulls individual hair strands out when angry or frustrated, but it's very rare. She does have an obsession with hand washing to the extreme, and extreme was in all caps there. But we all know where that stemmed from, and she sees counselors to help her find new replacement tools for this behavior. She's been taught it's okay to be angry or sad, which is good. And that's one of the things we even teach our own kids.
Absolutely.
Is, hey, it's okay to feel your emotions. Now, what you do with those emotions is something different. And so this parent says it's never okay to hurt yourself. That's what they teach her. And she does understand she is in control and she can help herself and be self-aware. And it's amazing what early intervention does for ASD kiddos.
Yeah, wow. That is so powerful when you think about just the challenges that they have faced. And yet, it's still parenting. It's still
totally,
the parenting that we're doing here with neurotypical children. We're teaching, when you're angry, this is how you cope with it. This is okay. This isn't okay. How to soothe yourself. We teach all of those things as well. It just looks a little different.
Yeah.
So something to really think about. Another family says, early on, our child had severe emotional outbursts and a sensitivity to sound, a desire to chew on items, biting himself or others when he was frustrated, and trouble keeping formula down. He initially developed language, but then lost it by the age of 18 months. So sad. He also developed hand flapping and other repetitive hand motions. When his language did reemerge, he often repeated what others would say. And I think that's one of those things that people with autism will do sometimes is repeat movie lines or what other people say, and mimic those things. But all of these different aspects to their special need, it's something for us to understand that it's okay. Like, we can look past these things and see these people as people.
Yeah.
And love them. And we are going to hear soon how we can do that. How can we love these people? How can we love these children? And what can we do to support the families?
Well, and I think the thing for us to understand also is that really they're not so different from us.
That's right.
Because we all have to learn how to deal with our emotions, how to keep them in check, and how to rightly handle that situation. Yeah. And so for them, it might be moving hands around. It might be repeating a phrase or something like that. But we all have to learn how to do that. And man, there's still emotions I'm learning how to deal with rightly.
I agree.
So
yes, you are.
I think it's important for us to come alongside these parents and even help them understand. Listen, what you're dealing with looks a little bit different, but in reality, a lot of the issues are the same that all parents are dealing with. It just looks different for you, and that's okay.
And we want to support you. We want to be there for you. Yeah.
So the next question is this: what kind of frustrations have you seen in your other children, and how have you worked through them together? And so, as we talked about, if you have a child who has autism or something else, because of the situation, they do get more attention oftentimes, and they have to have certain routines and schedules and focus. And so how that impacts the rest of the family, learning how to deal with that. So this parent says having a sibling with autism can be frustrating. Early on, we would avoid some activities in public that we knew would be difficult for our autistic son to handle. Eating in restaurants, being in crowded or noisy places, or going anywhere where his emotional and verbal outbursts would be distracting to others, such as a theater or athletic event. We saw our children missing out on opportunities and did not want them to grow to resent their brother,
Right.
Which is a real issue that you need to actually think about and try to deal with that in the best way that you can possibly. And so what they did is they said, we worked on ways to help our son and his siblings learn to cope with autism. We participated in behavioral modification therapy and auditory training for our son to help him learn to control some of his behaviors and to reduce his sensitivity to sounds. And we also obtained respite care, which allowed us to bring in someone to stay with our son so the rest of the family could participate in some activities which our son could not tolerate. Mm-hmm. And I love that they're finding a way to focus in on their other children as well and let them be able to share in some things that the brother could not. And so it helps those siblings to know, all right, our whole family is not just about this one person. Mm-hmm. And so, man, what a great thing.
Mm-hmm. Brings in that team mentality.
And having those people that can come in your home and provide that sort of respite care, what a valuable person to have in their lives.
And I love that that the person comes to their home, because then he gets to stay where he's comfortable, where he knows, because it's already going to be hard enough for him to cope with mom and dad are gone, my siblings are gone, this is a different person. And yet if he can stay in his own home, then he at least has that part of it there. So that is really good. All right, let's look at this one. What are some of the ways that you've invested in your marriage to stay strong during difficult times?
Oh yeah, that's good, because it brings extra stress, right?
Yes.
So how are we gonna deal with that in our marriage?
And I wish I would have looked up the statistics, because I did not think to do that, but I have heard about statistics of parents with special needs being not making it, basically their marriage just not making it. It is quite a weight that they are dealing with, in addition to the already challenges that you have in a marriage.
Yeah.
With neurotypical children. So it's like, yeah, you add in autism or another special need, and man, that makes it so much more challenging. This parent says, this is a tough one. One of our first conversations with our caseworker after we got our diagnosis was the crazy statistic of divorce during the first 3 years after a child's diagnosis. And I didn't really understand until my husband became the only income in the family and I was a full-time mom. While living in a different country, it was really hard. But life can be hard, and we came together and leading by example for our children. We had to allow ourselves time and space for each other. Mm-hmm. We had to talk. Maybe we should stop right there.
Yeah.
We had to talk. You guys should be talking too. Whatever your family looks like, you need to be talking. I think this is good. And vent to each other without judgment.
Yeah, that's really key.
I think that there are a lot of different opinions on venting.
Yeah.
Can I stop right here and just ask you, Thomas, what is your opinion on venting in marriage?
Like, what do you mean?
Like, is it okay for one parent to come home to the other parent and be like, oh, work was so hard and da-da-da-da-da, and just vent and get it all off your chest? Or like maybe the other spouse to come home or whatever and be like, you know, oh, my coworker drives me crazy. She did this, this, and this. Or the kids are driving me crazy. Just you and your spouse alone in a room. You're just venting. What is your opinion on that?
Oh, I think it's necessary. I think in certain circumstances, though, you may need to be like very open and just say, listen, I just need to vent for a second.
Yes.
Like, I don't need you to do anything. I just need to let this out. I need to vent. And we've had to learn. We've had to learn to do that because, you know, we had a recent revelation since we moved to Florida where I wasn't clear early on in some of my frustrations with projects or whatever else where I'd get upset. And to me, I'm just venting. I'm just letting that steam off, right? And for you, you felt like I was personally attacking you.
Yeah. I thought that you were expressing all those feelings about how much you hated projects or whatever to punish me for asking you to do the project. And it was like this fantastic revelation when he said, I'm just venting. But it was 19 years into our marriage when he said, I'm just venting.
Yeah, I just didn't communicate
so I was like,
enough.
Oh, I understand venting. Venting I get. Because I vent to you
all the time.
Constantly.
Yeah.
He is my little sounding board.
So I know
much.
the way that you vent. So you don't have to come to me and say, listen, I need to vent now. Now, you do sometimes.
Yes.
But you don't always have to say that. But for some of you out there, you need to learn from my mistake and just say, listen, I gotta vent. This is me venting right now. Mm-hmm. I don't need you to fix it. I don't need you to do anything other than just listen and understand what I'm going through.
I don't need you to apologize or make it about you. And some of you may need to learn from my mistake and realize that just because your spouse is letting off steam, it might not have anything to do with you. So stop taking it personally. That's what I had to learn. But I think venting is very healthy in a marriage because essentially venting is communicating your frustrations, right?
Yeah.
And it's a safe place to do that where the other person is not going to judge you, which I love that this parent says that. And so whatever's going on in your home, hopefully your marriage relationship is such that you can talk about your frustrations and the other parent will just listen without judgment.
Yeah.
That's the goal, in my opinion.
Yep.
Okay. We began small. So we're talking about how did they invest in their marriage throughout this. We began small with movie nights or date nights.
Okay.
This family had an amazing support system with their family and friends and church. Hey guys, plug for church. It's so important. And we let people into our lives who could help us. Wow.
Yeah, and I just love that. They let people in their lives. And that's exactly what we need to do. We're not going to be able to get the help and support we need unless we let people in. Mm-hmm. We let them see the struggles, let them see the weaknesses, and give them an opportunity to help. I guarantee you, whoever you are listening to this, whatever it is you're facing in your life, whether it's autism, whether it's something else, financial struggles, whatever, if you would let people into your life, you have people that would help you.
Yes.
People that would encourage you, that would stand by you. And I just applaud this couple for opening up their lives.
Yes.
Because one of the things we want to do, especially in circumstances that are difficult, or we don't want to be perceived as different or not knowing or whatever.
We want to look like we have it all together.
We close ourselves off and we put the shields up and we just pretend that everything's okay. Like, yeah, we've got it all figured out. We're handling it and we're doing it. And when in reality, man, we're barely holding on. And so, man, what a great thing and a lesson for all of us to learn. Not just people with autism, but all of us to let people in who can help us.
And lean into a church family. Like if you are not in a church, get in a church, get involved, build those relationships, because you know what? You might be the person who needs to let people into your life to help you, but there might be somebody in that church who needs you. And so you need to go get involved and go get connected.
Yep.
And then this is the last thing that this particular parent says. We just stayed kind and patient with each other. Wow. I feel like that's something we could learn, huh?
Yeah.
Let's be kind. Let's be patient.
Difficult.
Yeah, it's hard.
So Here's something, same question. What are ways you invested in your marriage to stay strong during difficult times? Same question. Here's what this person said. We know that having a child with a disability can be a strain on a marriage. We admit that it's very stressful, especially when you're not sure what to do.
Oh, yeah.
Support from our church and community is very important. We had many people praying with us, and we look toward our faith for strength.
Amen.
And I love this encouragement that they give. They say, if you are feeling alone when facing this burden and don't know what to do or where to turn, the challenge can seem unbearable. We were proactive in search for therapies which could help our son, and working together to improve his life helped strengthen our marriage and gave us hope. And so you see how they're looking for help. They're looking for ways to help, whether it's from doctors and therapists, whether it's from church, whether it's from family, from friends. They surrounded themselves with a network of people that could be a help to them and to their family.
That's right.
So sometimes we focus on the negatives and the struggles. Let's turn the page and focus on some positives here. So how has having a child with special needs been a blessing to you and your family? Let's see what they had to say.
One family says, it's taught us how important family, friends, church, and community are. It helped us to focus more on our family than we may have otherwise done. And another family says, I couldn't imagine our lives without our beautiful child. She has taught us of the amazing gift of empathy, resilience, appreciation, patience, and perspective. She's allowed all of us to become the best version of ourselves. No excuses.
I love that.
Love it. No excuses, she says. She has this superpower gift she's sharing with us. How amazing is that, she says. Wow. Awesome.
Yeah, and that's the great thing about these kids is it's almost like a lot of the negative things have totally been taken out of their lives that we see in quote unquote normal people. And we just get to see a lot of the positive things, the kindness, the love, all of those sorts of things, the friendliness. And man, they have so much they can teach us. And so focusing in on the positive things there. So we've talked about, and some of these families have shared, the importance of surrounding yourself with people, whether it's church or friends or family, therapists, those kinds of things. So here's the question that we really wanted to hear.
Right.
That could be a help to us. It can help those of you that aren't in the situation, but you have somebody around you who is. And that is, how can your friends and family support and help you? So how can that happen? This person says, when our son was first diagnosed with autism, we were unfamiliar with it. We had to learn how to work with our son, which is especially difficult because every autistic person is different and will change as they mature. The best support from our friends and family in those early years was to be understanding and not to shy away from us.
Oh, very good.
And sometimes we can do that because we're uncertain. Like, I don't want to be a bother to you. I don't want to add more stress or pressure or whatever else. Or I'm uncertain how to act around this child, and I don't want to do or say something that I shouldn't. So what we do is we remove ourselves from it.
Yeah.
And this person even says, I can understand someone wanting to keep their distance because they didn't know how to help us and did not want to do or say the wrong thing. However, this can leave us feeling alone on our journey. Fortunately, we had friends who would pray for us, listen, and even if they didn't have answers, and they were patient with us as our family found our way.
Fantastic.
And so that's the thing, is just being there with them, being a friend to them, supporting them, encouraging, listening to them. And so if you see somebody in your life they've got a child with autism, hey, just make a conscious effort to invest in their life and just be a friend to them. That's what they need. They just need a friend.
Another parent says, just listen. Don't judge or assume you know what's going on behind closed doors. One of this parent's biggest pet peeves is when someone says, wow, your child doesn't look autistic. So don't be ignorant and don't say something like that. Just listen, learn, and take the opportunity to be educated. And that is something that I personally try to do when I come in contact with a special need that I don't understand. Is I like to just ask questions.
Yep.
Just be really direct with a parent. Like, let's not beat around the bush. I can just say, what's the best way for me to interact with your child? Like, how can I best be a support to you? And I have experienced that parents like that.
Yeah.
They like those questions because they would rather just tell you, this is what you should do, this is what you shouldn't do to help with, interact with my child.
Well, and it shows you really care about them. You care about their child because you want to interact and you want to make that connection. So asking the questions is a great way to be able to do that.
Look at it as an opportunity to be educated is fantastic.
And so another question here is, what advice would you give another parent who has a child with autism? And so maybe you've gone through this experience and now you're going to share some information with a parent they just found out and they're just ready to start this journey. What is it that you can tell them? And I love the very first thing that this parent says, and that is, don't blame yourself.
Amen.
And we talked about that already, the feeling of, did I do something? No, it's not your fault. And they even say, you didn't do anything to cause your child's disability. Your child isn't autistic because he wasn't loved enough as an infant or because you exposed them to something dangerous. And then they say, don't let autism define your child. There are many treatments available that could be helpful. Seek out a local autism support group. And you see the theme, right? Just continue to surround yourself with people who will help you, who will support you and your child. You will find many parents who are dealing with similar issues and can be a good resource. And I like that, being able to get some help from some people who have gone through it, are going through it. They're going to be able to support and understand in a way that people like Lysandra and I can't. We can help, and we learn, and we try to be there for people. But there's something about knowing somebody's gone through exactly what you're going through,
right?
That they know and understand.
Yeah.
It says you will find many parents who are dealing with similar issues and can be a good resource. Don't let anyone tell you what your child can or cannot do.
Yes, I like that.
Every autistic person is unique, and you need to keep trying to find what works for them.
That's great. Another parent says, be patient. Ask all the questions you need and be accepting. Don't deny your child the opportunity to grow because you're scared.
Yeah.
Educate yourself. Invest your time in the process and just be supportive. Surround yourself and child with those who will support the process. And then just love. Love it. We want to look a little bit into what a sibling's perspective is, if their sibling has autism. But we are kind of running out of time. So we're going to try to get through some of these questions quickly. But I think this can really help parents who do have a child with autism and other neurotypical children, because we want to make sure that you have some insight into somebody who's lived it. They have gone through it, and now they're older, they're out of the house. What was their perspective looking back? So we want to just kind of look at that. And one of the questions is, what's the hardest thing about having a sibling on the spectrum? And one answer is, sometimes you're not able to do the activities you want, or you have to change how you do certain things. So maybe instead of going on a plane, you have to drive all the way there, which is a long time. And so they can't always necessarily do the activities that they'd like to do as a family. But in a lot of situations like that, this child's parents would split up. One would take the neurotypical child to do the activity, and the other one would stay home with the autistic child. So sometimes it's divide and conquer. And I think a lot of times that's what we have to do in our family too. You know, one kid has this activity going on and the other doesn't. And so we have to maybe divide and conquer sometimes, and that's a way to cope with it.
Here's one question, and I want to kind of end with this. that I thought was interesting. Is there anything you wish your parents had done differently as you were growing up? And this person says, my parents did a great job of providing for all of us and giving each of us kids the guidance we needed. And I love this because these parents knew that it wasn't just about focusing in on the one child, but making sure that all of their children felt heard and had what they needed. They say loved us unconditionally and were there for us in whichever way we needed throughout each stage. The one thing I can think of is that although I learned how to be independent at a very young age, I feel that I wasn't given as much opportunity to enjoy my independence as I would want to. I think that a good portion of this is because they essentially have to guide their sibling through every step he takes. And so I think they felt they needed to do the same with us to some extent.
Okay.
And I could see that.
Sure.
Especially if the child you have with autism is your first one. Even out of high school, it was hard to have them understand that I'm an adult and I can do things without them essentially holding my hand and making my own decisions.
And I think that's a problem a lot of us parents have.
Totally.
Anyway, we are just coming up to that point in our lives where we're going to have to allow our children to have that freedom. And that is hard to stop holding their hand and to let them go.
And we do talk about that as far as just preparing each of your kids to step out on their own. And so making sure that you give your child the appropriate amount of freedom and autonomy to be able to make decisions that are safe and appropriate for the age and for their capabilities.
I do want to share this one last point here because the question here is, what advice would you give a child who's growing up with a sibling on the spectrum? And this is such good advice. Understand that your sibling may need some extra attention in ways that you don't need. Remember that there is the opposite end of that, where you get opportunities and experience that they don't get in this life. So kind of trying to keep that perspective. That's good advice for a sibling who has a sibling on the spectrum.
And so we want you to have a family meeting tonight. And depending on what your family looks like, you're going to have one or two family meetings here. If you are a family who is living with autism in your home, you're going to sit down and just kind of have a family meeting with your entire family. And you're gonna ask a few different questions here. And first of all, you're gonna have a conversation with your spouse about your personal relationship with each other and how you're doing. It's easy for us to focus in on the kids and to kind of ignore our marriage or relationship, and we don't want to do that. And so, having an open conversation about what is our marriage like right now in this moment. And then you're having a conversation with your kids, your other kids especially, about, hey, how do you feel about how things are going in the home? Do you feel like we love your sibling more than we love you? Do we feel like we give them more attention and everything else? That could be a difficult conversation to have, depending. And so you need to have your guard down and don't react and just listen. It's a great opportunity for us to get rebalanced, refocused, and then talk about some ways that you can be intentionally investing in each one of your kids and trying to find, whether you're dividing and conquering, try to find some time where you can invest individually in each one of your kids. We have to try to do that all the time. With 4 kids in the house, it can be difficult unless we're intentional about having that alone time with them.
And then the other family meeting that you may have to have is, if you do not have autism in your home, have a family meeting and talk about, who do you know that does have autism? Yeah. How can you support them? How should we treat the person who has autism, and how should we treat the family? And what can we do? And begin to figure out ways that you can bless them. Start with prayer, and then find some physical things you can do as well.
And as we talked about, just be there for them. Be a friend. Be an encouragement. Be a support. You don't have to know exactly what to say or what to do. Just be present in their life. And as you learn and as you get to know them, then they'll let you know some very specific ways that you could be a help and a blessing to them.
That's right. Thank you for joining us today. Please go and subscribe to the Family Meeting Podcast from your favorite podcast provider. And if you found this information helpful, please share this episode on social media and invite your friends and family to listen in with you.
To find more content information Lysandra and I provide, you can go to our updated website.
What?
FamilyMeeting.org.
Sounds amazing.
Or shoot us an email at info@FamilyMeeting.org. You can text or call us and leave a voice message at 904-257-3062.
And we want to invite you to join us for our next family meeting as we talk about friendship in marriage. Listen, I know it's cheesy, I know it's corny, I know it's cliche, but I married my best friend.
Oh, really?
I did. And he's amazing.
I don't think I know this person.
And we have so much fun together. And we are going to share with you some of the ways that we invest in the friendship aspect of our marriage and give you some suggestions. We're going to share 7 ways to develop your friendship with your spouse. But we are going to share some of the insanity that takes place in the Osterkamp home recently.
Very recently, someone got veggies dumped all over them.
Yeah, someone did. But we'll share more of that next week.
You started it, by the way. I just want to say that.
I did start it.
Yeah.
Okay. I was trying to think of a way I could make you the problem, but...
No, that was you.
It was me. I did it.
So, looking forward to having a good time with my friend on our next episode. Thanks for joining us today for this family meeting. Have a great week, everybody. This meeting is adjourned.
Yeah, it is.
All right.
Wow. That was kind of a hard episode to talk about because, man, you just feel so much for these parents and what they go through, and you feel for the children, you feel for the siblings. So that was kind of a tough, a heavy episode for sure.
Well, but I also think it's good for us to stop and to think about and to help these parents understand that what you are facing is different, but it's normal to face stuff.
Yeah.
And so you don't have to feel like I'm some alien or some stranger that nobody can understand. And no, people understand. Now, your problems are different than my problems maybe, but we all have problems, we all have struggles, and we all need a support system around us. So open up your life and share that with them, and get them have the opportunity to help you. So
yeah, we're in this together.
We are all in this together.
All right, guys.
Yes.
I hope that you enjoyed your 4th of July. I hope you enjoyed
Freedom!
this episode.
Boom, 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 boom.
And we will end with that. Have a great week, everybody.
Bye.